Hello listeners, welcome to Season 1, Episode 1 of the biography of an abolitionist and a formerly enslaved Douglas. This is Author Smith. John Brown and Frederick Douglass had a complicated friendship. Formerly enslaved Douglass was inspired by the white abolitionist passion, but they often butted heads, including over the raid at Harper's Ferry. The inaugural meeting of two of the 19th century's most famous abolitionists, Frederick Douglass and John Brown, took place at Brown's home in Springfield, Massachusetts in 1847. Douglass was already widely known for his enslaved upbringing and escape from captivity in the late 1830s. His account captured in 1845 the narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass, an American slave, and frequently rehashed in his public speeches. Yet it was Brown, a white man with a record of failed business interests and unyielding religious conviction, who seemingly came off as the one more determined to end the cruel institution of slavery that day. Brown impressed Douglass with an early plan to free the enslaved, as he recalled in 1881 Life and Times of Frederick Douglass. Brown immediately impressed his guests with his lean, strong, and sinewy build, and the way his children observed him with reference. But it was Brown's impassioned words that made the biggest mark, as he spoke of a plan to free the enslaved and squirrel them to freedom through the alleyway mountains. His measured responses to Douglas' questions show he had given the matter careful thought. Armed men will be stationed at strategic checkpoints, he explained, from where they would slip to towns to rally the enslaved and acquire provisions. And even if authorities manage to corner them, what better way to die than for such a noble cause? Thank you. Hello listeners, this is Author Smith, and I'm here to give you today the biography of an abolitionist and a formerly enslaved Frederick Douglass. John Brown and Frederick Douglass had a complicated friendship. Formerly enslaved Douglass was inspired by the white abolitionist passion, but they often butted heads, including over the raid at Harper's Ferry. The inaugural meeting of two of the 19th century most famous abolitionists, Frederick Douglass and John Brown, took place at Brown's home in Springfield, Massachusetts in 1847. Douglass was already widely known for his enslaved upbringing and escape from captivity in the late 1830s. His account captured in 1845's narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass, an American slave, and frequently rehashed in his public speeches. Yet it was Brown, a white man with a record of failed business interest and unyielding religious conviction, who seemingly came up as the one more determined to end the cruel institution of slavery that day. Brown impressed Douglass with an early plan to free the enslaved. As he recalled in 1881's Life and Times of Frederick Douglass, Brown immediately impressed his guests with his lean, strong, and sinewy build, and the way his children observed him with reference. But it was Brown's impassioned words that made the biggest mark, as he spoke of a plan to free the enslaved and squirrel them to freedom through the alleyway mountains. His measured responses to Douglas' questions showed he had given the matter careful thought. Armed men will be stationed at strategic checkpoints, he explained, from where they would slip down to towns to rally the enslaved and acquire provisions. And even if authorities manage to corner them, what better way to die for such a noble cause? And we'll continue with this episode next time. Thank you, listeners, and I would like you to support me on this because I'm a first-time broadcaster. Thank you.